Hello, welcome to another live stream at Western Edge. My name is Amarachi Okorom, and I am artistic associate at Western Edge. And today we're going to be talking about mental health in the arts, and we're so excited to be talking about that. And before everyone introduces themselves, I'd like to say we have Lele coming up in 2 weeks on the 24th to the 26th at the Bari Theatre, part of Neighborhood Festival. So buy your tickets and come along. It's going to be amazing. And also, if you haven't already, join our mailing list to keep up to date with everything that's happening at Western Edge, because we have a lot coming up. Yeah. But before we start again, would anyone like to do an acknowledgement? Anyone else? Yeah, cool, awesome. So I would just like to acknowledge that today we are meeting on the land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and would just like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and would also like to extend my respect to any First Nations people who are tuning in today, and also would just like to say that we are meeting on stolen lands and sovereignty was never ceded and no treaty has ever been signed, and it's always important to acknowledge the lands that you're on and to respect the people who came before you, because they hold a lot of knowledge and a lot of community and love and celebration. And yeah, and it's always important to remember that and also to pay the rent in whatever way we can. Yeah. So let's introduce ourselves. Let's start from this way and then come back this way.
Should I grab this?
Oh, yes. I forgot about that, Mike.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. My name is 1/6, or my real name is Aaron Stephanus, but my artist name is 1/6. I would also like to acknowledge the Bunurong and Wurrung people of the Kulin Nations, and thank you for that wonderful acknowledgement. Hopefully in this conversation and further conversations, we continue to hopefully honor them and include them in space, and hopefully whoever's tuned in, hopefully you can connect with what we are saying and hopefully feel represented, and yeah, that's hopefully we have a cool conversation. It's a pretty topic that's close to my heart, so I'm looking forward to being able to share that with you guys and in this space and with all of you out there.
Nice. Thanks, Aaron.
Hello. Nice. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you. Yeah, similar. It's a subject matter that's very close to my heart. I am Kuda, or Kuda Kwashe, or Kuda Mapeza, just depending on the situation. Yeah, I'm really grateful for you to hold this space. I'm really grateful that we're able to meet here. I'm really grateful that, people have been having conversations on these lands for much longer than we have. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get into it. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, guys. I already introduced myself, so I don't have to do it again. But yeah, so we'll be talking about mental health. And I'd also like to say that if you are watching and like anything comes up that like is triggering for you, then feel free to like jump off the live and then jump back in whenever you feel like, because I think we should all look after ourselves, and that goes for like anyone watching as well. So be gentle with yourselves. Yeah, let's get straight into it. Start with the first question. What are some of the mental health challenges for POC artists? Starting with a big one.
Yeah. We'll be here all day. Well, I mean, there's a whole host of them. I mean, that have been like since the commercialization of art, I think, because I feel like in terms of art in the cultural sense, that was the treatment of mental ailments. I feel like, in terms of when you realize how much emotion and just the whole spectrum of things that we feel internally that we can't really touch and access, art has been the thing that really presents that to the world. And so I feel like that's kind of always been there. But once it became commercialized, I think that was the decline of the importance of the emotion as opposed to the perception of value, I think. And so those things shifted. And so then now, if you now have to talk about the perception of value, and then also include that people of color, whether regardless of which continent, if you were darker than this, you were, you know, like you were you were a commodity. You know what I mean? So it's like there's, you know, that kind of, I guess, if you think mentally, like, okay, I'm a person who's seen as an object, and then there's the prospect that an object that you make can be treated better than you get treated. It's like, can you imagine the, you know, it's like it's immense, you know, crushing, soul and mentally crushing. So I think, what was the question again? Sorry.
I'm just so intrigued by what you were saying about what are some of the mental health challenges for people?
The challenges. Okay, yes. So I guess there's the challenge in, you know, trying to reclaim humanity out of the arts again. You know, I think that's the very big challenge. And so now I'm not kind of trying to think as far back as in terms of commercialized. But then now if we have to fast forward it to now, where the art is almost secondary to being an artist. You know, if you don't have, if your hustle isn't like, forgive the, like, I guess the only other real world comparison that I could make, and it's like, if you're not hustling like Donald Trump, as an artist, you're not gonna get any, you're not gonna get anywhere. And we can see, even Kanye West, we could see, like, that was, you know, it was kind of reaching to that ascension. And then, you know, we know how us black people get treated, and, you know, in every so that, I mean, like, I think black people are the only ones who weren't surprised by this whole thing that's kind of happening with Kanye West. It's just kind of just like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming,
It's gonna happen. Oh, there it is.
Happening up, there we go. 1.9 billion. You know, and it was quick. And so I guess, yeah, it's a hard one, like, you know, because if we I'll wrap it up, but like, once we commit to putting humanity back into the arts, I feel like that's where we can start really getting back to creating safe, creative spaces. Yeah. When there's, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that person, you know, they're speaking their heart. They're not trying to impress me, so I put their picture on the gram instead of the other artist who was there. You know what I mean? Like, and so, I think once we get to that, we'll be able to really kind of create the spaces that really accommodates the fragility of being an artist. You know, it's like, we have to be vulnerable to make great stuff. You know, but when you're not feeling great, you know, it's a different kind of vulnerable, you know. So that's what I think. But
Ooh, nice work.
that was the start.
Buckle up. The question was some challenges for POC artists. Oh, yeah, there's a whole Bible full of them. The one that comes to my mind, first of all, is that you touched on it. It's the sometimes I've found / sometimes I find in situations, you know, walking into a room and being like, I don't know if I'm here because I'm wanted here because of what I do or what I represent. And sometimes it becomes obvious very quickly, and then other times it takes years, and then you're like, oh, that's what that was. You know?
Did it again.
Fool me one time. And it gets me every time. And like, I find that, you know, like my toolbox for recognizing when that's happening is expanding, but it keeps getting added to. And that is the issue. That, you know, I it's exactly that. It's the becoming commodified. Like, not just the art, but like the artist is a commodity.
Yeah.
And I also find another challenge is, like, as a POC artist, realizing that even though like I'm in the room, sometimes there aren't other people in the room who look like me. And in that, like, it also means that people who are making decisions about my art aren't POC and therefore don't have the sensitivities, or aren't being informed by POC people and therefore don't have the sensitivities that are necessary in order to uphold cultural safety, but just like on a base level, like psychological safety. Because making art is a vulnerable thing, and like we do say, like, you know, artists need to be suffering in order to make something good, but like no.
Let's end that.
No, right here, right now.
End it right now.
But it's the, like, there is a difference between something being vulnerable and something like somebody being put in a vulnerable situation and an unsafe situation.
Yeah.
And I've seen both. I've been a part of both. And then on top of that, or if sometimes, you know, being in a situation where a POC person or myself am being commodified in some sort of way, it also means that when you do ask for help, since we're already kind of starting from a less than human position, me asking for help or anybody asking for help, but I am talking about my experience, asking for help becomes this like, well, why would you need help if you are a commodity? And I've been there and I've seen that and I've experienced that, and it's bad. So those are some of the challenges. I could keep going. There's a lot. List in my head.
There's a lot.
But I think in my heart of hearts, it ultimately comes down to like just being seen as a human being, and like just as vulnerable and as sensitive, and as needing of nurturing as anybody, like needing of time and patience and, you know, flexibility and just consideration to be thought of is necessary to make good art. That's all.
Damn, that was both of what you guys said was like, it resonated a lot. And I think, like you said, it's about like being seen as a human being, and like you said, with like every time you enter a room, it's like, am I here to represent like a whole community, or am I here to just be myself? And there's like a lot of pressure that comes with that, because you can't just be yourself. Like, I can't just go in a room and just be Amarachi. I have to be like Amarachi and the Nigerian community. I have to be like all of them are just following behind me, and I'm just like, I came by myself. Like, what's going on? And it's like, you can't just like breathe. And it's like anything you do, you have so many people like coming behind you, which like sounds great, but like realistically, it's a lot of pressure, and it does a lot of damage, because it's like, if you feel like you can't make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, then you've like disappointed your whole community, because the people in like these institutions are going to be like, oh well, if you did this, then everyone else like you is going to do that, and then it just like closes the door that was already like almost closed, and that's stressful. That's stressful as but I feel like there definitely needs to be like a lot more care, and not just being like, we have like one black person in this space. It should be like like, you're in this space, how can we better serve you? Like, what can we do? Not just like, you're in here, great, we've done our jobs, that's it. Like, it doesn't just end in getting people in the room. It like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, that has to go on in the background to like make sure people feel safe, and feel like cared for and valued. And yeah, like we see like even like celebrities and stuff, and just like all the stuff they go through, and then we just hear like all the tragic news and stuff, and it's like, why did it get to that point? Like,
and you know, sorry to cut you off.
No,
there,
go
but,
for it.
like the thing with and I guess more so for us here in Australia is, especially with our age group and our, with like if you go 20 upwards, right? Like a lot of us, we can, each one of us, like, you know, for the, if there's 1 million black people in Australia, like of African or, you know, like kind of from the diaspora descent, a lot of the time, each one of us can has a story of, or has literally the documented history of being the first person of wherever your heritage is to do whatever it is that you're doing here. You know what I mean? So it's like that alone is, there's no like kind of backup. There's no, oh, my uncle did that as well, or my uncle's been 20 years in this job and worked for that company, so we know, oh, okay, yeah, this is this, or this is this. It's like, no, you're the first one. And then also it's like you're the first artist in a family of doctors, you know, accountants, lawyers, all of these things, and you're the one who is like, oh, so you're going to be different now, huh? You want to be an artist? Okay, go ahead. And then we get ushered in, and not even ushered into it, we kind of get just kind of like, okay, well, good luck. And that's all we have. So we're really just operating on good luck and the little bit of good faith that we have left with our family, that we're like, if we mess this up, you know what I mean? That now you're going back home with your tail between your legs and kind of like, oh, how's that music thing that you were doing? Like, oh, what? Yeah, that, how's that? You know, and that's embarrassment that carries across over to the family, and you don't want that. You know, and so when we're thinking about like, oh, where are these spaces that have the safety? It needs the cultural safety. You know what I mean? There's not a theater or a music venue or anywhere that you could go in, book the show, and be like, hey, look, I know but can you come to my house and convince my mom that I'm doing a good job? There's no venue manager, unless you know him like this. There's no one that will do that. You know, there is not one. So it's like already any illusion of safety that you would have is totally removed, because there's no connection between where you want to work and where you're coming from. And you're the one who's trying to forge these kind of friendships or relationships that you're hoping are genuine and not based on what you represent or what they're hoping that you can represent when you're on side with them. And one slip up, one thing is just like, oh yeah, you know, he's cool, but then like he gets a bit black after a few drinks. And you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, you know, and it's like,
exactly.
And these are real things. And this is even like, if I have to say personally, that's something that like my whole career, like I had to really kind of wrangle with, and kind of, it was either to the point where I'm like, all right, I don't care, and then people see that and it's like, oh, well, he's careless, he doesn't care, and so then you get pushed away, and then it's like, ah, damn it. So then you try again, and then whatever, it's like, oh, he seems to be getting better, but who knows, you still can't trust him, you know, with these, you know what these N-words are like, you know, after, you know what I mean, like, and and we, you know, we laugh, but these are serious work conditions, and whether it's work, whether it's getting on the train, whether it's going to where you just want to just do your thing, you know, it's like, I'm just here to buy bread, milk, and eggs. Why are you following me? Who do you know steals eggs in their underwear? Why? Leave me alone. Like, you know what I mean? But these are things that we constantly deal with before we even now arrive, and you're like, all right, 5 minutes to showtime or whatever, and you're just supposed to drop all of that and be in show mode and be like, I am the greatest artist in the world. Come on.
It's so,
you know what I mean? Like, and as if, and then when people can do that, it's often with the use of substances and all of these other things, or, something's propping him up. It's like, oh no, I only hang with these guys. And you go talk to those guys, no, we only speak when he speaks. Or whatever he wants, that's what we facilitate. And it's like, okay, well then, do you help when he messes up? It's like, oh, he doesn't mess up. It's like, how is that safe for anyone? It's like, and so, yeah, it's just like, it's until there's really, like, I feel like until someone's super rich grandma opens up an arts facility and really sits there and makes sure that's part of the, you know what I mean? Yeah, someone. I don't know. It's not mine, but until someone like and actually goes in, and that's the full and whole purpose of that creative school is to make sure that you've got your chakras aligned, and then we'll put you out into the industry, as opposed to you go in there, get chewed up, and then now you're trying to find somewhere that's gonna help heal you and whatever, and you know what I mean? Like, and it's so I feel like if we start reversing, and I mean, it's such a hard thing when we kind of have these conversations of people of color and things like that, because then it's like, you just want to say, it's like, well, if we just do the opposite of what white people have forced us to do all this time, we'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? and it sounds like such a crass thing to say, like, but it's that's the only way you really have a space that's really founded in, it's not just representation. No, this is actual, that's the base. You know what I mean? It's like the things that we all learn at home or whatever. Those are the things that are in the foundation of these spaces we're trying to get into. So we're not fighting to fit in. It's like you're already there, and it's on constant reminder. And so then when you're going out to do the extraordinary stuff and be like, okay, let's fly. Yeah, fly. But be home at 5:30. Instead of like, oh, I've got the thing, and it's like, oh man, I've got to be home 5:30 and I've got to try and fly, but I don't know, are we allowed to do that? No, this is the white rolls are the ones doing that, and so it's like all of these things that are super impactful on how you're thinking about what you're supposed to think about. Yes. And so, I don't know, like, not that I'm dismissing or that it's impossible, like we're definitely getting towards it, but I think there's a lot more of the spectrum has to be encompassed before we can actually kind of be like, that's right. We need, for every young artist we need someone who's 60 years older than that person, so they've got that kind of the knowledge of the journey or the the process, so there is that advice of like, okay, cool, we did it like this at this time or whatever, and the technology is all different, but the feelings are still exactly the same. When someone disappoints you, it still feels the same as it did in 1920 or 1875 or 1600. It's exactly the same. So as long as those things and how you like, and there's no healing from that because they happen all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, even if you're prepared, like, yep, I put my cup here and whatever, and the wind blows that you didn't count for and cools down your tea. It's like, but it's like, it's out of your control and it's not yours. But when you know that, like, or there's someone there or something there and it's constantly reminding you, it's just like, don't sweat that. That's not for you to worry about. You're cool. You need that. As petty as it is, if you don't have that, those little things are the size of this building, so. That's what I found is like the most.
Oh. That's what I found. Sorry. That's what. Sorry. It was so loving, though. I felt really welcomed in. That's what I found is so many things that you said that I was like, something that's super important that I've only kind of found out, and maybe it's a bit late, but I'm here now, so let me not, beat myself up about it. But having examples of the things that you were trying to do, I realized that especially, being first gen immigrant, I've had to convince, my parents of the worlds I'm attempting to step into before I've even stepped into them. I'm like, I don't really know this creative thing that I'm doing, but like, I just need you to believe that I'll work it out at some point in time. Just like close your eyes for like 5 years and I'll hustle something and show you. But it's like, being able to have examples, exactly that. I know that, like, especially after I've, had some really rough experiences, trying to get some creative things happening and just being pushed back in ways that are not just like, oh, I'm being pushed back, but like, oh, I'm being pushed back because I'm a POC. Like, the ones that you can smell it. Oh yeah, that tastes like prejudice. Finger licking bad. Yeah, it's those situations that I'm like, if I wish, like, I'd see people who have, like parents who are in the same industry, or grandparents who are in the same industry, or like, like just have connections, and I'm like, I wish I didn't, and I'm not. I know that I am technically or like literally not pioneering anything, but in my own life, I'm like, I don't have examples of like, oh yeah, well my grandma did that, and so I'll just do what she did and she can just give me advice. And like, it really does feel like a lot of the time I'm doing things for the first time and then like reporting back to like a past version of myself, being like, oh no, we can do it. We will make it happen. I know you're dreaming about it now, but like, we'll make it happen. Yeah, like it'd just be so nice and to have somebody who's seen it all and had the flexibility and the option to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail and then report back to you, as opposed to try and fail and, oh, now I represented a whole community, so that door is closed, let me try nursing. Like, like that's something that I've been thinking about a whole lot. Yeah, I realized that something that you also said about when you said like, sometimes when you are sitting, you're like, oh, if I just did the opposite of what people did, then maybe I could do something. But the thing is, the thought, it's not my quote, I didn't think this up at all, so no credit to me, but I remember reading somewhere that was like what would you, a quote that said, how would you do it if you never knew how anybody else did it? And I've found that a lot of the time, sorry? Okay, good. I'm glad you're having fun. I've realized that, like, just the amount of shape shifting that has to be done in certain spaces, I'm like, I wish I didn't feel as though I had to like take notes of the room and then like become the room in order to be allowed to be in the room. I wish, and not to say that this isn't every time, but I have just realized that, with I'm aware of my company a lot of the time. Aware of who I'm stepping into a room with, as you should be, to some degree. But it's a lot of work, mental work, to be like, I'm similar to what you said. It's like, okay, I'm gonna put on my clothes and am I gonna wear this thing? It's a little bit too black. Maybe I'll save that for day 3. I'll put this on, and then I'll walk in the door and maybe I'm like, oh, my hair's looking a bit frizzy. Oh no, that's cute. Like, maybe if I leave my hair a little frizzy, then they will have to find a way to accept it, and I'm opening up the door for other people to have frizzy hair. Like, such small, like, micro decisions
that impact a lot.
Before you've even done the job. Yeah. Like, that wasn't the job. That was just me getting to the job. And then, being in the job and, just like I was listening to a podcast, can't remember what it's called, so I'm sorry. But they were talking about
Western Edge live stream. Welcome. Thank you.
You're tuning in.
Lela from 24th to the 27th of November. At the Bowery Theatre, St. Albans.
At the bottom of the screen. But I was having so many like back-to-back situations, and I was like, I just need to like get my brain right about this. Like, let me have the knowledge so that when I go into it, I can label this situation, as opposed to being like, oh, it's happening to me and I don't know what this is. And I was looking at the definition of psychological safety, and it kind of does coincide with cultural safety, but the definition that this podcast gave, shout out to them, don't know who you are, but I hope you feel it. They said something along the lines of psychological safety is creating a culture of rewarded vulnerability. And that really made me think, like, rewarded vulnerability, creating a culture of rewarded vulnerability. And I guess like that vulnerability could be in the form of culturally, or could just be in the form of like artistically, to be in a space, to try something, to show up. And it also acknowledge that, you know, in order to say that you are creating a culture of rewarded vulnerability, that has to acknowledge that interacting with a person as it is like a vulnerable act. Because it could go wrong. It could go not the way you thought it would. And so to acknowledge that every time you are having a conversation with somebody, you may end up in a different place than what you thought you'd be in. And like having that, you know, that vulnerability with a person, and then pairing that with, but that vulnerability, that opening up in whatever capacity, whether it's artistically, culturally, just socially, if that vulnerability is rewarded, then it creates like this cycle of, oh, well, if I'm being rewarded for being open and for being myself, I'm going to do it more. I'm going to do it more. I'm going to do it again and again. If I'm being rewarded for like opening up creatively, then I'm going to do it again and give a little bit more and give a little bit more. Like in the same way that like with a relationship, you know, if I give you a piece of information that, you know, I care about a lot and you hold it and you cherish it, like I'll open up to you some more. And like having that cycle, it just continually like opens up like real connection. But the antithesis of that is punishing vulnerability. And and I know that in so many capacities, we live in a culture that is kind of built on punishing the vulnerability of POC people. And so in so many capacities. And so it's hard, you know, on one hand, wanting to create a culture of rewarded vulnerability, but at the same time kind of being kind of held by places and people that are maybe a bit too quick to punish your vulnerability. It's such a dichotomy in my mind, in the mind. So that's kind of those are like the two things that I'm attempting to balance in my head right now. But I think that's the thing. It's the I would like to be in a place where my vulnerabilities, or, you know, and even like vulnerability in terms of difference from status quo or difference from what is. I want to be in situations where that is held securely and not a terrifying, oh no, they're going to kick me out of this room kind of thing. Or they're not going to give me work anymore if I'm too black. Like,
Am I going to get blacklisted?
Exactly. I promise I listen to Sufjan Stevens. I promise I listen to indie rock. Like, I promise I do. Like, but then I also like
I've
a little
got a
bit
Bon Iver t-shirt.
I do. I got the third album. But at the same time, it's like I also like a little bit of Outkast. And having space for that, like, for the wealth of you. Because I know, at least in my own experience, I create a lot of space, or at least I attempt to create a lot of space for other people. And just, you know, you want that reciprocation. I'm not the biggest fan. I think I'm allowed to not be the biggest fan of walking into a space and being like, I will meet you in your world, but like, will you meet me in mine? And that is what I have to say about that.
Mic drop. Yeah, that's why we don't invite it nowhere.
It's the last live stream Kuda's coming.
I promise I love
Oh wow, that
Word.
yeah, That was some like deep stuff that like
Yeah,
was just dropped.
it is.
It's
Very.
yeah, it's so deep. We could literally talk about it all day, but we will move on to the next question. Is it an oxymoron? Can you be mentally healthy and be an artist?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we. I'm just because we're speaking openly. My vulnerability is safe here, right?
Yeah.
We will warn it. Come on.
Go on. Windows open, brother. I think we want that to be the truth. Unfortunately, we also have been raised and kind of indoctrinated with kind of the opposite of that. Like, it's like the geniuses, troubled minds, and this and this and this. And it's because kind of going back to what I said about the commodification of the art, like, so it's like if you think about business process, right? Like, it's like transactional business process, and all the way down from when you buy like that cup until they acquit and they do their tax at the end of the financial year. It's like everything is like, it's forensic. Like, it's like this cent went here and it's used for this and this and this, and this is how this all balances out. If someone did that to you and didn't have like a doctor's, like, officially this is a clinical psychologist or a doctor who has to know all of these things to be able to give you a diagnosis of where you're at and be like, hey, you need to change this, and like that's a bit worrying. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you had to do that in a business sense and like do that same forensic business analyst that you're doing to artists, and you looked at that, like people wouldn't be able to do shit. Sorry for swearing out, but you wouldn't, because you don't have the capacity to be able to engage in business properly. It's like you lose your temper, you throw a guitar across the room, or you throw a mic, or you scream. It's like people will be like, come on, yeah, that's a liability. Whereas in the arts, that is, you don't want to see someone on stage and be like, okay, so I wrote these rhymes today, and I wrote them on the 25th of the June 2007, and because that's like, when you're covering all bases, to be your mental well-being. No, it's like, yep, that's checked for. Yeah, I know I did that. That was on point. Yeah, I wore these shoes because this is thing and this, and it fits with this and whatever. And people will be like, this motherfucker again. I mean, like, he's a great writer, but what, do we have to know everything? Like, but that's the only way for you to have a clean bill of mental health. Nothing's like, no loose ends or anything, because that's the stuff that spirals and then either becomes a great album or a tragic story. Most times both at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, so as I'm saying, it's like we'd love for it to be, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, great artist, his mind is super clear, but unfortunately, we don't really want that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you don't want your KFC, like, it's like, imagine if KFC stopped frying with oil. Who would go?
That's nasty.
Right? You would just be like, what? Like,
Not KFC, but like the
I'm sorry, KFC. Let me not, like, throw you guys under the bus and just, it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm gonna get sued. I'm broke. I'm an artist. Please. A POC artist at that. I have no money. But, so it's like, if we really wanted things to be all checks and balances and everything accounted for and, straightforward, so that the artist can have, like, real, like, fulfilling lives, all of the things are going the way, like, that would be nice. But unfortunately, the criteria of great art and where it fits in what we see as a clean slate of health, those things are just way too way too disparate to be able to kind of tie them together, unless you put them together and then you have that kind of buffering that I was talking about, like, so it's like you have young people who are coming up under you, watching you as an example, and so that holds you accountable. And there are people older than you who've been through the journey who know, yeah, so and so did that when he was losing it, and then you're like, oh, okay, no, okay, word, all right, I need to get in check. And then you have people who care, who will help you, where it's not based on, oh, we're losing money, we have to get this guy back right. It's just like, yo, I'm about to lose my friend, or I'm going to lose my brother, or this is my cousin, this is my sister, this is, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the motivation to act, not, yo, we're losing money, oh, these shows are getting canceled, oh, we lost that endorsement, oh, we got this. And that's when you start being like, hey, man, we need to interject. And it's like, come on. It's like, if you really, really care about someone's mental health, like, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll sit with you crying on the train in the middle of the platform. Let people walk past and see you. No, but as long as you're going to feel better after that, then, yeah, we can deal with that conversation later. You know what I mean? It's better having the conversation later than going to the funeral later, And so, yeah, I wish I could say yes, but, yeah, just keeping it real, man. But, and like the great thing is, because when we're having conversations like this, someone's listening and be like, okay, now we're going to fix that. You know what I mean? Like, so there will be people who are out there willing to prove me wrong. And I'm saying, please do. I don't want to be right. This is not, it's like, it's not like a, who wants to be a millionaire question. It's like, so it's like, for $250,000. No. Oh, dog, you nearly had it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but it's getting there. It's getting there. And, there is the collision of well-being and also just reckless abandon, you know what I mean? Like in well cultivated spaces. And it's getting there.
Oh, thank you. I reckon that's the mix. Like it's the well-being, but also being able to like run for the hills. Somebody that I was talking to that I really respect, an artist that I really respect, was saying that I really wanted to like start working with them and getting sessions and just share your brain with me for a second, because I need some help right now. And it was in a moment after I had some really quite rough experiences, in the creative field, and I was like, I'm ready to fix this so I can push forward. And they said something that's really stuck with me. They said, well, before we can push forward, like, we have to take care of you, because your mind is the thing that makes everything that you make. And if your mind is not, these weren't their words, but they said, like, if your mind is not on 10, then your work won't be on 10. Like, it's before anything, before you even begin to put your pen on the paper, like, if you aren't feeling well, mental health wise, then all the unhelpful thinking that you harbor and that you stir up will just be spat onto that page. Like, you are your own canvas. And so they were saying that, yeah, before we start, like, how are you? Like, they made a little list of like, these are like, if you're feeling this way about something, this way negative about something, like, who can you talk to? Who are the people that you need in your corner to empower you? What are the things you need to do to empower you? And I found, like, if, when I am having a really rough time mental health wise, some people like, and then I turn to writing and it helps, and that's cool. But I find that if I'm having bad mental health, like, I don't want to make anything. Like, there sometimes comes a point where it's like, oh yeah, I'll make it because it feels cathartic, and then like, even that, like, the thing that feels good is like, doesn't feel good anymore. And I do think, like, what's the point, but like, how far are you able to get without you? You know,
No
like
way.
yeah, it's like if you're not there, then like what are you making? What's happening? And I know like just we won't get our lists, but I was like, I know I've been in some situations where like I've been put in a rough situation creatively, and then they're like, and now use this to fuel you, and I'm like, no. What do you mean? Like this is an adverse situation. It's going to help you if you are the adversity.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't help. And so it's the I think like we say we love like a broken artist, but then like once they go, then what? Like go mentally, go like in the really literal form. Like if once they need a break, then what? Like the art that you're like itching for isn't gonna come back. And also in the digital age that we live in now, I think we can afford to take care of people, because so much of the art, not all of it, because some of it is live art and it only happens once, and like that's the pull of it, but so much of the art that we do have, you can just watch back again. And so sometimes you hear like, oh, I wish I missed this artist when they were making deep dark music, and now they're making amen. Let the man be happy. Exactly. Just play the album back. You got Spotify.
It's twisted, right?
Twisted.
It's twisted. It's really twisted.
Yes, Selena broke his heart. This is great.
Yes. It's like just go back on YouTube. It's not, they didn't take it down. It's like you can literally just go back and find the deep dark song that you loved so much, and like let that person get happy, or like let them go through whatever it is that they're going through. Like you don't need them to be suffering. Like you don't need an artist in the US to be suffering, so us like over here in Australia can be like, oh yes. It's like let them have their life and you can have yours.
Give me your pain.
Exactly. Like yum, some more. Like just go on YouTube. You've got the link. Like you used it before, you can use it again. It hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. And so like we can afford, in so many ways now to just like let people take care of themselves. The beauty about a lot of the art that we make is that like it sticks around for a long time. And even if like a live like play doesn't stick around for a long time, at least the play that is written can stick around while you go away. Sort yourself out. Like that play that you wrote at one point in time is still there while you go live your life. It's not like once you live your life then everything you've ever done is not there anymore.
But I think that's kind of down to just the level of consumption that socially we engage in now. It's like when I was thinking about just like what was it, like something you just said about it's the deep and the dark, it's there, and you can kind of tap into it and you can access it, like where it's like, I don't know, I'm old. So it's like so I'm coming from like the times of cassette tapes and video tapes and things like that, where it's like you'd have 2, 3, 4 videotapes in the crib depending, and but there's 4 movies that you watch and you've watched those, like, so it's, for me it's Coming to America, Life, what's the other one, Martin Lawrence movie, Blue Streak, and you haven't seen it. It's like I say, I'm old. And Color Purple, right? And so those 4 movies, those were the only movies, like I have full recall of all those. I can jump to a scene in, like I'm watching it on Netflix, just because we've watched it so much. But it's like we watched it a lot, but it was only one thing. You know what I mean? Whereas now it's like you can do that with millions of things. And we do. We don't even realize we've got podcasts playing in the background while we're watching a movie, while someone else is next to us watching something else, while we're chatting on Instagram about the one thing that we did last week that we're planning to do 3 months from now. Like, it's like we're time jumping and we're consuming so much that like the actual, it's like when people are like, oh, when's the next thing? Is because it's like, as opposed to when it was like you have one album from your favorite artist, maybe every 2 years. If you got like now dude like Kendrick who's like every 4 years, like people are like, oh my god, I'm gonna die before he puts an album out. Like, it's like, man, what's 4 years? Like, it's not that deep. And as you're saying, you've got as many albums as years that you can go through and listen back on until the next thing, if he decides to. And then so you see artists like Kendrick who are like, I'm not tapping into this until I'm ready. And I'm ready to catch whatever someone's opinion is of what I'm saying about my life, that I have to go home when you guys throw me away. I have to now go back to Compton and be like, nigga, did you say something about, and then it's like, and it's like, and then here we don't, just like, I didn't like that last album anyway. Moving on. And and it's like, and literally totally throw these people to the wolves, and and so I don't know, and so it's like there's this the arts really is like just such a it's like the Colosseum, like it's like where the gladiators were fighting, and then it's like you get beaten, the guy who wins walks out and they let the lions on you, and then you get eaten, they eat you up, and then the lion goes back to the cage, then they send the next gladiators out, and you're hearing the cheering, like, yes! Like, getting torn up, you know what I mean? Like, and because that's like, it's other people's catharsis. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, they get this, I wish I could do that to the stress that I have in my life. And, you can kind of separate yourself, and there's a bit of distance. But now it's like, the whole world's in your pocket, in your ears. It's there, it's like constantly surrounded by it. It's hard to, like, unless you really just don't care. Like, it's like people, like I was talking to a friend of mine, I don't have a Facebook account. And it's like, this person was like, how do you speak to people then? And I was like, I'm face to face with you right now. How can you ask me a question like that? It's just like, no, I'm not here. just disappear, but it's like really it's funny, it's like so quick, like, but it's like there's this full, like, kind of migration to pure, like, technological communication that is like, it bugs people out if you say like, nah, I'm not on Facebook, or oh, what's your Instagram? Like, I'll add you, and I'm like, don't bother with that, because I won't read that message. Then you'll think I'm ignoring you, like, because it's like I don't check that, but it's the total opposite of the society that we're used to. And so now even me as an artist, like, kind of thinking like, oh, it's like I have to be tapped into that to be able to convince other people that I'm an artist. Like, as you're saying, I have to go and convince my family. Those are the numbers you have to show. It's like you can't, oh yeah, I've got 4,000 people clicking thumbs up on my stuff, and then they're like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. And it's like someone like me, where it's like I don't have that, but like I've played probably throughout my career, I probably played to 500,000 people, like, over the past 15 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and if I say that to people are like, I've never seen you play.
Prove it.
Yeah, prove it. Like, oh, so if you're a rapper, then rap for me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and then sometimes you ask people, I'm like, yo, what do you do? And it's just like, oh, I'm an accountant, or I'm a barista. It's like, make me a coffee now. It's like, well, like, I don't have them. But I have to do my job when you want me to do it for free.
Yeah.
And you, like, your excuse is, oh, well, I don't have my calculator. I was like, oh, well, I need books to balance. And it's like, oh, really? Oh, you need equipment for your stuff? So, yeah, and, it's like...
People ask for you, they're like...
Yeah, it's like, now. Do it now. Prove it to me. It's just like, what? You haven't proved anything to me. Like, it's like... Yeah.
I don't know you.
Yeah, and it's like, it's just this demand that you have to prove that you can, and then if you don't, then it's like you're instantly dismissed. Yeah. And it's just like, obviously there's there's a huge disconnect in like you understanding what it is that I'm actually doing. For you to think that I can just do it, like just music is just going to come out of my shoulders while I'm talking to you or something. Like, so it's like.
Something that makes me laugh about that so much is that, like, because I've had that exact same moment. But, you tell them that you can do something. You mention to somebody what your job is, and they go prove it. I've been in the situation where I've done it, and like the aftermath of that situation is so underwhelming. They'll just go, "Oh yeah, you can." And moving on. It's like, well, I just performed a sonnet for you. What do you mean? Oh yeah, okay, cool.
Oh yeah, cool. No, you better.
No, whip out your MacBook right now and show me the stats. If you're an accountant, show me that you are. Yeah. And then I'll go, oh, cool, moving on. Like, it's like, it's like, what are you talking about? It's so much work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. But
there's something that you said about, actually, maybe it's my brain is a bit further back in time, but you mentioned about how, like, Kendrick being like, that is his life. Kendrick as an example, that's his life, and then he's going to go back to his life after we've moved on. Something that like I just can't say enough about, like, being an artist, but also like for most people is that you've only got one head. You got one brain and one body. There is literally just one of you. So for people to be expecting for you to pump things out, day in, day out, when there's only one of you, there's only one person who thinks like you and makes the things that you make, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, it's not like your brain is not an assembly line.
Yeah. That's it.
And I know that like sometimes when when the capitalism is deep in the vein, I'll be like, I've gotten this thing done and this thing done and this thing done, and I feel so valid. I feel so valid because I've gotten so many things done. And then realizing like, oh, you know what? Like, yeah, sure, it's fine. And like, it looks maybe nice on a resume. If I tell my boss what I did, they'll be excited. But then like, if I didn't like get enough sleep, if I didn't like take the time to actually take care of myself within that like pumping out process, then by the end of it, like, you're half of yourself. Well, I find, let me not project. I am half of myself when I've been pushing out beyond like my physical or like mental limits. And like, it feels cute for the moment to be like, I did that, but then afterwards it's like, yeah, at what cost? I don't know how to remedy that though, because I know that there are so many expectations a lot of the time, especially for POC artists, especially when you feel like you are representing everybody.
And that's the hard thing as well. Is like when you feel like you're representing everybody, but not everybody's on side. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and this is, I guess this is maybe even outside of just the arts, but even in just the social thing. It's like, I remember when the first Black Panther came out, it's like black people was like,
Wakanda forever.
3 months later, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, hey. It's like, oh, what happened to the...
But we were. And now we're...
And then it's like, and then it was the unfortunately, the George Floyd thing. And then it kind of came back again. And, like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. And then it's kind of dipped again. And, so it's like things like that kind of pain me, because then even when we're having discussions like this, that's why the work we want to come out of these conversations never happen, because it just falls flat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. I guess even, I'm scared of talking about this, but it's in the zeitgeist, so it has to be mentioned. Like, it's like you see what's happening with Kanye. That's the whole Jewish community is just like, nope. And you see what's happening. But like, when something happens to one black person, it's like everyone's like, meh. But what can we do? You know what I mean? Like, whereas like if everyone, every single, like, and not for anything violent, but like purely just to be like, yeah, we've had enough. And like literally every black person everywhere, wherever they were, was just like, no, fuck it. Sorry to curse again, but it was like, yeah, and walked out of their jobs, left their cars running on the road, just went, and we all just kind of sat and was just like, nah, until things change, we're not going to do anything. None of us are going to do anything until this stuff changes. Then maybe they'll be like, oh, these guys are serious. But it's never going to be, because why? Because there's black, but then are we just black? No. It's like when you say Africans, then it'd be like, no, I'm Nigerian. I didn't go to... No, I'm Namibian. Like, no, I'm from Zim. I didn't go... You know what I mean? Like, so then it's like, because we are painted with one broad brushstroke that we didn't want. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to now be like, kind of, we love being in the collective, but then we don't want to be stripped of our own sense of who we are, you know, which is what's happening. And so it's hard to then, you know, kind of jump on board, because then it's like, well, it's like, oh, okay, so I'm not Namibian, but I'm African. But then when I'm African, then I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, then I'm not something else. And so if, you know, there was, and I don't know when we'll arrive at that thing, like, you know what I mean? I hope we never do. I hope we can just, you know, just literally just kind of have, you know, be in the position where we're just like, no. And then people like Jay-Z or P. Diddy or whatever, they can say like, yeah, actually, you know what, like, you know, you guys aren't respecting us enough. We're taking all of our music off. We're taking all of our art content off, or whatever. All of our literally whatever. We're going to take it all out of here and keep it here. If you meet these guidelines, you can check in. If not, until that happens,
you know,
it's just never, we won't, because there's no like united boycott, you know?
Yeah. Well, I reckon on that though, like the black strike.
The black strike, yeah. I feel like
everybody taking a sit back. I think the thing that I'm so aware that in so many ways, POC people create so much culture, and also like POC people, from what I've observed, from what I've read as well, create what is cool. And so, like, there are so many industries, but also just like places in the world that need POC people. It's that funny thing where it's like you feel it sometimes where like they need you but they don't want you, and it's
like needing weird, what you have but not you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I want what you represent. I want, you know, the difference that you bring. I'd say difference because like you know. But it's like, like I want the idea of you more than I want to like hear like that you're actually having a rough time and you might need some time off. You know, it's like, it's just such a, it's a weird, it's not, it's something that I feel I'm still trying to come to terms with. I don't quite, it's kind of hard to know sometimes where to place yourself within that. Well, no, I find it hard to know where to place myself within that. Like, I know that there are some places that need me, as in they need the idea of me, but don't necessarily want to hear my ideas.
No, it's like kind of you're just an avatar.
Yeah. Exactly that. You just like drop into the room.
Like,
it's like, off your clothes.
You see?
Yeah.
Even the black girl said it.
Well, that's exactly what it becomes.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about.
And there's it's exactly that I didn't realize how much it would affect me, but that idea that like I'm here but I'm not here I've found like one of the hardest things on my mental health, when it comes to being creative, being vulnerable in that way, but also having that like, when I bring this thing to the table, am I being witnessed in the way that I hope to be? I've found that like just that lack of humanity a lot of the time. Is the thing that, like, it's not, I find that even though we're like literally POC people talking about mental health, you know, like experiencing racism, and I know sometimes, you know, racism becomes a dirty word even amongst a situation like this, but like I feel like it's really easy to forget. I find it easy to forget. I know that when I'm in workplaces, it seems to be really easy to forget that like experiencing racism is bad for your health. Like, it's not just like something that happens and then you just like, as a POC person, as a black person, just go, oh, well, it's that thing, and you move on. Like, it's not good for you to have, you know, to be in places and to be like, well, I don't know if I'm seen as human right now. I don't know. Like, and then to go home and like make your boiled potatoes. Like, it doesn't feel good. It's not good for you. In the same way that having any kind of mental health issue is not good for you, like racism is bad for your mental health. And if it, you know, I feel like it's like treated like this obscure thing that like.
But I mean, sorry to cut you off, but it's like the thing with that, especially with racism, and as people of color, the victims of racism don't survive to tell what it felt like.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the difference. There's a difference between getting punched in the face and getting killed.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's just like, what happened to your eyes? Like, oh yeah, you know, some racist guys, you know, said something, and you know, we got into a little bit of a biffo, but yeah, we had some beers and we chatted it out. It's like, it's very different when the police are like, you know, someone who's a criminal, general civilians, whatever, can say one thing that can put you in to that corner. Yeah. And you'll never come back from that. Like, regardless of what you did, whether you did anything wrong, whether you were thinking about doing something wrong, whether you said something, it's just because we are just the instruments of that. Yeah. Regardless, you know what I mean? Yeah. Old, young, man, woman, child, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and we've all felt it, you know what I mean? Like, but it's like, as I'm saying, like, the victims never survive to go and tell the story, because it's like we just internalize it and never say that stuff again. Yeah, well, isn't there? You know what I mean? So it's like the story never goes on. Like, it never gets like, oh yeah, we're having the weekly team meeting, and you never get to go in and say, yo, Jerry said some really racist shit at the water cooler this morning. And that becomes the focus of the meeting. It never happens. Yeah. It'll be like, oh yeah, we'll pull you out and we'll we'll have a discussion about it, and then next thing, you don't have a job anymore, and Jerry got promoted. Well, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, what? How did that work? It's like, well, yeah, you know, because you just displayed a bit of aggression. Yeah. And, you know, Jerry said sorry, so that's really professional.
And Jerry's got black friends.
Yeah, and, you know, he's like, his second cousin's married to a Mauritian lady. Mm-hmm. So.
Lovely. Isn't there that like Zora Neale Hurston quote that's like, you should speak your pain, because if you don't, they'll kill you, and say that you enjoyed it?
That you enjoy, exactly, you know. And so, yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the forums, again, because we don't have these communal black spaces where we're allowed to go and do that. You know what I mean? Till now, but then it's like we can't do that en masse. Like, imagine if we all flocked to Fed Square and sat and were having this conversation out in the public. Police would come and shut it down immediately. Immediately. You know what I mean? But then get, like, you know, it's like, you know, round up, like, you know, Hugh Jackman and, you know, so and so and so and so, have them go and do that. It'd be like, oh, it was such a wonderful experience. You know, it's like really tapping into the, you know, the mental health problems that we're facing in this society. It's like, whose mental health problems? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, but then it's like, if we're looking to attack that as a problem, like mental health as a problem, then we can't divide it racially. Even though race really determines the impact of anything on your mental health, you know what I mean? And yes, sorry, Madam Host, I'm talking too much.
We'll just ask the questions to pretty much like lead us into the end.
It's the end already.
Yeah.
How long have we been talking for?
For like an hour.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whoops.
No, it's good. It's good. I'll start with this one. How do y'all avoid burnout? Please and thank you. Thank you, Lee, for the question. How do you avoid burnout?
Stop.
Just quit.
Yeah.
Just quit. What's the thing? Quiet quitting. Just
Quiet quitting.
yeah, it's like quiet quitting. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you kind of it's like you like if you have all these things that you have to do, and it's just like I'm just gonna rest today. I'm just gonna take a break today. And it's like, oh, your manager wants you to do this thing that's like out of your like workload, and it's like, nah, I'm just not gonna do it. It's probably not. I don't advise that because I don't want people to lose their jobs. So don't quote me on that, and don't be like, Amarachi told me to do this. And
Amarachi said
I'm not
quit.
I'm not responsible for your loss of
You
job.
are burning me out. You're burning me out, and I'm tired, so I'm going home. Send my invoice. Pay my invoice tomorrow.
Yeah. But I think like on a real dealing with burnout, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm still trying to like work out how to do that. But I feel like ideally it's kind of like about like setting your priorities straight and like making sure that you're prioritizing things that you want to do, and then just like saying no to things that you, even if you're just like I don't know, just like put that to the side. If it's gonna take up too much of your time, put it to the side, and like kind of like understanding that things will never stop. Like opportunities never stop. Like they just keep going with or without you. Like you could be burnt out and then just like have nothing, and they'll be like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna get the person who was meant to like who like auditioned as well, so I'm just gonna get them, so you can take your time or whatever. And it's like, oh, like I like realistically the industry does, like, it's as sad as it sounds, but like institutions and corporate, like they don't really care about us as human beings. So it's like, who's gonna care for us except for ourselves? And it's like, I'm like, if you show up every day but you're tired, no one's gonna tell you to take a break. They're just gonna be like, thanks for showing up today. Really appreciate it. Can you go do that thing? And it's like, I'm working on 1 hour of sleep. I can't. And it's like, well, you're here. Let's do this thing. So yeah, I feel like you just have to prioritize yourself because no one else will. And it's brutal. It's the truth. But it's true.
It's true. Yeah.
It's the truth. Like you have to prioritize your health, your mental health, your peace, because oh my God, this life is rough.
Yeah, and I think with art especially, I think you have to prioritize the way you feel about your art. I think, or at least for me, that's what I did. So it's like, how I feel about what I'm doing is first. If I don't feel like doing that shit, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. I don't care who or what. It's like, yo, we're gonna go and work with Ho. I'm not feeling that. I'm not doing it. Because I know if I show up and I'm not like I'm kind of, it's difficult for me to hide if I'm very annoyed or happy even. Like, you know, like I really, what I'm feeling, you see it, you know it, you know. Yeah. So if I'm coming in and like, if I come here and I wasn't really, you know, it's like this would have been an awkward conversation. It would have been dark. You know what I mean? Like, it was all mental health. You want to know about mental health? I'll tell you about mental health. So, yeah, and it was just like kind of in the earlier times because, unfortunately, you know, like I lost some friends who just really, really burnt out. And it was like the only way, especially like when you're using substance or like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, have a couple drinks and oh, I get that vibe back, and then, you know, then the couple drinks doesn't help, so you need more, and the drinks don't help, so then you need something else, and then that thing doesn't work, but if you combine these two things and oh wow, this is new, I haven't made music like this in ages, and then, you know, it's like you kind of, it's very, very, very slippery slope, and then now you're learning how to go up on it with rollerblades on. And you know what I mean? And then you get good at that. And then it's just like, and then going back to now the tortured artist who's just like, because it's like, look, he's on rollerblades on a hill and he's juggling knives that are on fire. Wow! You know what I mean? Like, instead of looking at that and being like, this guy's in trouble. We need to go we need to go and help him. We need to start. And, and then you get interrupted trying to start. It's like, no, it's all right. It's the show. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. It's like, no, he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, they've gone, someone get him. Somebody stop them. Like, you know what I mean? Because they've gone, because then, once you're in something, you've gone past the point of, it's like really objective observation. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like, because I'm thinking, like, with kids, it's like, it's like you see the kid with the nappy, like, it's like they just, it's a soiled nappy. That's what it's supposed to catch the thing. And it's like, let me change. It's like, no. It's because it's like they, like, there's the observation of kind of going back and being like, oh, okay, no, that's disgusting. You don't know it when you're in it, like, so it's like you have that, kind of that feedback, you don't get it. And then especially if you're just kind of like layers and layers of escapism and detachment, and just like, you're seeing people and you've been traveling, you don't know what country you're in, you don't even know what day it is, what mental health are you going to take care of? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where you have no kind of sense of being like, oh, okay, word, okay, yes, this is why I'm doing this. Oh, okay, cool. I can deal with that hangover now because I know it's like, oh yeah, no, I got to do that. And I remembered that, and that was a very pointed decision that I made because it made me feel like, oh, okay, I can take in the rewards of the work that I've done and really let my hair down and not go overboard, because it's like, it's like, I'm not going to jeopardize that for this. Whereas if you're using this to make that, it's, it's like, that's winning all day. And that's a conveyor belt that doesn't stop, doesn't need, as we're then going into what you're saying, it's like, doesn't need you to be on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to keep going. There's going to be another person coming. It's like, can you grow braids? Cool, come here. No, people don't grow braids.
It's like, wow, your hair grew.
Wow, your hair grew.
Thank you. Yesterday my hair was short. Today my hair's long. Thanks. Yeah, I feel like people should promote like exiting and like stepping away. I feel like that's not like talked about enough.
Because capitalism does not know how to do that.
Because like you get into like situations.
Money doesn't know how to take a break from making money or whatever that.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like you get into situations and you think, oh my God, if I leave, everything's gonna fall apart.
Mad at me.
Like, like the show's gonna stop. Like, oh my God, like everything's just gonna blow up and like the world is gonna end. Yeah, but then like you burn out and then you have to step out anyway, and then it's like,
or you really kind of sabotage way worse than what you would have done at the start when you were just tired. And now you've got a manic depressive psychotic episode that like you don't even realize that you're doing.
That's a bit too real.
It's like, no, but this happens, and you see people like kind of going, and it's just like they're going through the motions and whatever, and you're looking at them like, you cool? It's like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. And then it's just the one point where it's like your body and your brain are just kind of like, they're not listening. Let's show, like, like the boy, this Black Strike boycott that I'm talking about. Our bodies do that to us as well. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like they just, like when it's like, I won't sleep yet. You know what I mean? Like, it does that. It's like, regardless of how much you can try and endure through it or whatever, it's going to stop. You know what I mean? And it's not going to care what that deadline is, or you know what I mean? Like, oh no, this is the final show. It's like, it is.
It has no respect for that.
For a minute.
And like, I feel like with COVID, what that literally just like kind of shifted things, because like it was law. If you were feeling unwell, you had to stay home. Like you couldn't leave your house. So it's like people are like, oh, now we have to like get like people to like cover you, and like we have to like factor in these things and like think about all these things now. And it's like this. People were getting sick before COVID happened. So why is it only now that's like prioritized? It's because you get fined if you don't. Like businesses can go down if like you don't comply with that. But I'm like, that's not even coming from like a place of like care. It's coming from like oh my God, we need to like protect our business. But it just like, I feel like with the whole COVID thing, it showed that it's possible. It's possible to like not do a show. It's possible to postpone a show. How like there's been so many shows postponed this year, and I'm like, this would never have happened like pre 2020. Like it would have just been like, we're just gonna push through, and people are like sick, vomiting backstage, but then on stage you're like, yeah, I'm fine. It's like, you're not fine. Go home.
Yeah.
Go home.
And like one of the sickest. Oh, thank you. One of the. It's so wild. Yeah, both of you kind of touched on it, like that. Like, yeah, it's like you were not well, but you keep going. And like the thing added on top of that is when people are clapping for you and they're like, "Good job for pushing through. I know you just threw up on your shirt, and I know it's your favorite shirt, but just keep going, keep going." Or like, your work is so good when you're sad. Keep being sad, like that. It's. Yes, be sad in order to create art. It's like, it's so much, and it's like, it's sick. I've realized that being able to say like, I remember the first time I sent an email that was like, "Thank you so much for this opportunity, but I will have to turn it down." I was like huffing and puffing over it. I was like in my room like, oh no, they're not going to be able to handle it. Someone's going to get a hold of the Guardian and tell them that I can't do anything. Like, I really thought everything was going to end. And then I wrote out this email, like sent it to 3 people being like, "Is this okay? Will they eat me alive if I send it?" And then I sent it, and the person was like, "Oh, cool. Thanks for letting us know. We'll let you know if anything else comes up." And I was like, huh? I was expecting Armageddon. What is this?
Like, expecting a bomb in the mail. Like, like, oh, you can't do our show? You will do no shows.
Like someone is sending roaches to my house. Like, rats will come. Yeah. But it's like, oh no. Everything is fine. And like, I remember even being able to be like, oh, okay, so I can turn things down even after I've said yes. Even after I've said I'm going to do it, I can still turn around and be like, actually, I can't. And they will work it out. And I also realized that on top of that, like, if I am working for people who, if I say to them, look, I'm under some really dire circumstances. I can't do this anymore. I would love to be able to do this, but I don't think I'd be able to do it to the best of my abilities, and I'd want to give you good work. I realize if I'm unable to say, like, if I say those words and I'm hit with like a hit with the 1-2, hit with the like, we're very disappointed and blah blah blah, then like, those aren't people that I want to be working with anyway. People you
shouldn't work with anyway.
No.
You know, if someone
exactly.
Like if someone responds to you telling them that you're not feeling well with like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like,
who hurt you?
Like, yeah, it's like, what? How is that the response to someone telling you that they're not well enough to do the best job that they can for you?
Exactly.
And
like
it's
this,
like,
yeah. So it's all learning things, but like, it's nice to come to a point where it's like, oh yeah, you can say no at any point in time. Like, yes, obviously try. But if something is coming up and you're not okay, like, at the end of the day, it's you there. It's you who's doing the work. And if you can't do the work, you can't do the work. They can find one other person. Yeah. And like, sure. it feels good to do good work. It doesn't feel good to be like, I pulled myself to the end and now I'm here.
Scrape like, to the line. Just like,
yeah. Like,
okay, I made it.
That's exactly it. It's like,
people quit the arts.
Exactly.
Leave the arts and then get paid and be like, why was I struggling all this time for like pennies? Like, you know, and it's heartbreaking when that happens, you know, when people with real like talent who get just chewed up, you know, and unfortunately the way that the industry of the industry of the service of entertainment doesn't service the industry of, how would I say, it doesn't service the industry of entertainers. You know, it's like it's all about the end product. You know what I mean? Like, you know, an actor can die. They will CGI that motherfucker back into the movie. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and it's like, can you imagine? Like, you know, it's like, oh, sure, you honor somebody, but it's like, can you, like, when you step back and look, you see that that's a very, like, whoa, like, come on. What do we really need a Fast and Furious 7? Just don't make the movie. If the man is stop the franchise. You've, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you think that, but as I'm saying, the industry of the service of entertainment does not service the industry of entertainers.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like they won't sit there and be like, oh, okay, cool, we have lost our franchise player or franchise actor. Let's go into the artist community and find an original script. Let's go in and actually be like, yo, okay, cool. Like, how do we take this as an example of showing, like, oh, okay, cool. Let's go in and actually, it's like, no, this one was due to make $200 billion. We can't change the movie. We gotta, but the guy died. It's like, that's all right. You know, it's like, and, you know, they got his brother to do it, like, you know, which is cool. Like, at least they had a family member kind of involved, but still, like, you know, it's like wild. You know, and it's crazy, and it's, again, like, you know, it's just this kind of quick fix of how do we get to the money? How do we get to the money? Is like, you know, and that it's just never gonna facilitate good mental health. You know, I don't think until it changes around, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're really putting the people first and injecting the humanity back into the whole practice. You know, like, you know, there have to be check-ins. You know what I mean? Everyone has to know how everybody's doing before we start working. You know, you can't come, even if you're late. Yeah, come, explain why you're late so we know. All right, cool, word. You had an argument with the homie. All right, cool, nice. Sweet, that happens, we understand. It's not like you're late and, you know, it's like, oh, what's this? This is unprofessional. It's like, no, it's like, we are professionals, like, but we live human lives that is chaotic and, you know, exactly, you know.
And, like, you need to live a life in order for you to make your art. Like, it's not that, like, it's you actually have to be a part of your life and live your life in order to come back and be like, so what are we going to put on the paper today? Because, like, I don't know, like, giving your whole soul, you know, yes, put your whole soul in it, but also stay human. Stay human.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, honor yourself.
Half an hour later, just have a break.
Have a break. Take a break. The industry is literally going nowhere. It's literally. It's been here for years.
It's been here. It will stay here.
So.
No, that was the question. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do if this stops. I'm like, I'll be standing at the train stations, like, just looking for strangers to talk to. It's like, how's your mental health? Hey, yo, hey. Oh, okay. Oh, you're doing fine. You must be great.
Okay.
All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Well, it is actually 7:30. We have been going for an hour and a half.
Damn. Okay.
So, I'm gonna
one last question. Just one more. A nice short one.
Okay.
1 word answers.
Okay. 1 word answers. How do you, this is. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask that one. This is a nice one to kind of end on. How do you squeeze self-care into your schedules?
Is that the one?
Yeah. Yeah, from Reese. Hi, Reese.
Hey, Reese. Thanks for the question.
The way I squeeze self-care, okay. So I've had to spend some time, sit down and be like, so these are the things that I need in order to actually enjoy my work. Like, one of my housemates, shout out to Dee Dee, sent me a we're having a big chat about making things, because Dee is also an artist. And they were saying, like, the question that they ask themselves before each project is, what do I need in order to do this with joy? With every single project, what do I need in order to do this with joy? I think that's a really beautiful thing. And then also, I know that I've got my own self-care practices. I love a big journal. I love a little meditation. I love a dance in my neighborhood. And I know that at the beginning of each day, even if I don't have like 2 hours in the morning to like get into it, I'll say to myself, what can I do in like 10 minutes? Like 10 minutes before I go, like really prioritize it. Or like, what can I do on the train that will make the day better? Sometimes it's like I'll be meditating and there'll be people next to me and I'll have my little things in, and that'll be what it is. Sometimes it'll be shoving things in like while I'm on the way to something, if it like gets desperate. I know that sometimes I often find that like before I engage in a new work, I gotta like dance my way to the venue. It just like, I find it's something about it, like it does something in my head. It's something about like just like owning your space and allowing yourself to like exude whatever is inside of you in a public setting and being okay with that. I think that's a psychology. Maybe I'm just doing it because I can, but I find that like, even if I just like find a little alley, like 5 minutes before I'm somewhere and have a little book and then make my way in. But just, I find it as being like, if I've got 5 minutes, like what can I do in this 5 minutes? Making use of the time. I just never think you're too busy to like do like a little something, even to just, I mean, you fill in the blanks. It's your self-care. But yeah, a small something. Always try.
Love that.
What? I think my self-care mechanism for years has just been walking. So it's like I always like at least a kilometer, 2 kilometers walking. Like I have to try and squeeze that in at some point of the day, whether it's first thing in the morning. What up, Penny? Walking at 5:30 in the morning, or like late at night, like, or after the kids are down, like, just go and just walk. Like, that's kind of something that really just gives me, I don't know, it just reminds me of the freedom I have, I guess. You know what I mean? Like when you can, when you can stand up and transport yourself from one place to another, and then come back to where you came from in a totally different, like you've seen the world a little bit, or at least a little bit of the world that's close enough to where you call home, and then being able to come back to that and, just kind of take stock of what's there, and, it's like, be like, it's like, this is, it's a freedom. Like, even if you're not trapped or, in a bad neighborhood or whatever, like, just the ability to stand up and move yourself, you know what I mean? Like that's, some people have never known that at all. Like, so I'm always, it's just for myself, it's a way of reminding myself, like, like this is, it's a one body. Like, as you're saying, it's your one body, your one brain, your one heart, your 2 kidneys. Like, but the one, if you're lucky. Like, a friend of mine told me he had 3 kidneys. That is just a trip. I don't know how. Like, and he only found out, like, unfortunately, after he kind of ended up in a bit of a bad situation, and the doctors had to open him up and were like, hey, there's another kidney in here. I would love to see that. It's a trip. It sucks that it's like, it's like, found it after the bad situation. Was like, oh, that's why I just don't get drunk so quickly. It was like, ooh. But, so that's like, that's my walking is like, it's like, or like just, depending. Like if I'm in a bad mood, no headphones. Okay. Because it's like I feel like it's you can transfer that energy to things. You know what I mean? Like so it's like I even though music is just sound or whatever, I feel like that's a very tangible thing, and it's very much like they can be milestones and pit stops in your life. Like I was like, I remember that song, and so it's like when you're in a bad mood and there's a song that and those two things kind of fuse together, they never remove each other from, you know, you never, like, there's, everyone has one song that they will never listen to again because it puts them right in that room and they can smell that person's either perfume or cologne, or, you know, you smell, you know what I mean? Like, they're very, like, you know, yeah. And I never wanted to do that to other people's art. You know what I mean? Like putting my negativity on something that, because then it's like, you go, music plays everywhere now. You in the supermarket, this song comes on and you're gonna trash the aisles now. I hate this song. You know what I mean? But you know, it's like turn this off. I've seen people do that. I've seen people. Can you change this song? Like, it's a trip. The big W. But you know, is, you know, the big W clientele, you know. Anyway, so yeah, so if I'm in a good mood, music on. If I'm like feeling shitty, then I just walk without, just to, you know, just to clear the head and not, you know, not have any associations with things, you know what I mean? Like, and then, because then you can't shake that mood. You know, it's like the song is, and then it's, it's very hard because then the song can play and play and play in your head without you even playing it, you know. So yeah, so I try and, you know, the walk is also the escape. So I'm trying to get as far away from whatever triggered that. And because, you know, those things like, you know, emotions or whatever, it's like there's triggers, but you know, if you know what the triggers are, they don't control you. You know, it's like they don't own you when you realize what it is. But it's like if you're not able to separate those things. That's why I find walking is cool, because there's like a traveling away from where I was. Yeah. And so it's a journey. Even if I'm walking and coming right back to where I was sitting before, I've made a journey and I'm not that person anymore, and I'm not really in that place anymore. So yeah, learning how to do that is, I feel like, is paramount to the self-care. But when you're just constantly inundated with stimulus, it's like music, this food, this, like Instagram messages, you know, it's very hard to really be able to kind of pinpoint what made me upset, because there's just so many things happening. It's like you got your hands like this, you don't know, like, you know, so when you look and everything pisses you off. Whereas if you're able to be like, it was you, okay, cool, all right, thank you. Yeah, so that's, walking is the self-care.
What do I do?
I am self-care, baby. Don't you see my Don't you see my Uggs with the, with the straps on? I am comfort personified, baby. I don't need to do anything for my self-care. My self-care is not talking to you after this.
I think things I like to squeeze in. I like listening to music. I think listening to music is, I listen to, if I'm like not in like the best mood, I love listening to gospel, because I'm just like, yes, bring me back to earth. Thank you, Jesus, thank you.
I forgot to say that I pray while I'm walking also. So
yeah, I like having like nice little casual conversation with God, and I'm just like, hey, life's not great right now. Help me out. Thanks. You know. See you later. You know what's going on.
Big man.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Send
help. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, don't
amen.
forget. Big man, I'm running out of cheeks, yeah?
Please. Come on. Please. That thing I said I wouldn't do, and I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wouldn't do it again. Please. Just stop. I'm not your strongest warrior. Stop giving me these battles. I'm not strong. I've told you. I ain't strong enough for this. I know. Like, you must have mistaken me with someone else. It's not me. Stop giving me these battles. Yeah, that's my. So for all the religious people out there, that's what I do. Yeah, I love
people. You know, I just, make excuses to God, while playing gospel music really loud on a Tuesday.
It's like, I know I haven't prayed in the last 2 months, but here I am again. I'm back. And I'm ready to be delivered. It's all a joke, God. It's all a joke. It's banter. It's banter. It's banter. Forgive me. Yeah, please. Pastor, if you're watching this. I feel like that's a great note to like.
On a great note, that's
yeah.
Thank you very much for having
Thank
us.
you. Yeah, thank you both for like great conversations. I think it was really nice. And it was really light actually. Like it got heavy here and there, but I feel like we kept it quite light. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I'll go home and rewatch them. But oh, actually, that was.
Oh my God, what did he say?
And thank you to everyone tuning in at home. We have another live stream happening in 2 weeks. 2 weeks on a Tuesday this time, and yeah, we'll be talking about money and the arts with myself, Michael Longo, and Betty L. Bayan. So tune in on Tuesday, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. the 29th of November. Yeah, it's gonna be great. And once again, thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Leave a comment in the leave a comment in the comments box if you want to see us do this again.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, please.
And
Don't be
that's
shy.
a wrap. Cut.